Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Moms at Work with me, Raghad.
And me, Rawa.
Where today we'll be talking about the extracurricular mum.
Oh, interesting one.
The extracurricular
as if we don't do enough already with the extracurricular
and then you look
activities.
at those extracurricular mummies and you think, wow, I am so
You have to fit
lazy.
it in, don't you? But you have to fit it in. You
try
feel
to
guilty
fit it in.
if you don't, right?
Do you have to fit it in, or do you, if you can, you can? How do you find?
If you can, you can.
If you can, you can, yeah.
I don't know, I just think when you see those moms that dedicate a lot of their time to their kids' extracurricular activities, getting involved with school and stuff like that, you do kind of get the sense of like envy a bit. And you just think, oh my God, I want to get involved, I want to do a bit of that, because you feel like your kids would like you to. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, would like you to almost. Yeah. But then I always ask myself, where do they get the energy from? Like in 6 o'clock in the evening to go and take them to the clubs and sit with them. Like, by 6, I'm just like, I'm just ready to kind of just be at home and chill and make dinner. I do feel guilty about it most times, But I don't know where they get the energy from.
Yeah, I think it's important if your kids have interests, definitely, support them, because we don't. At the end of the day, I'm talking for myself. I don't want, if my son has a passion in football, I'm going to help him pursue that passion. I don't want him then to be lazy, and that's because of me. Because I didn't make the time, or I didn't have the time to send him somewhere.
You weren't bothered.
Or I wasn't bothered. Yeah, no, definitely. I think for me personally as well, something I really wanted to be a part of. With my kids is being involved a lot more in their school. So I signed up to be a parent governor at the kids' school. I'm on the board, and that for me was just a great thing to do, because I'm able to kind of see the business side to the school, how the school works and how the school runs, and also be that voice for the school for other parents, because I'm a parent governor.
That's what I was going to say. You're the voice of other parents, especially for someone from our community and someone we don't have a voice a lot of the times, and we need someone to speak up for us.
And to be honest, when I go on these visits, I have to visit the school once in a while, and I go around and check the classrooms. I see the look on my kid's face, and it's like, oh, there's your mom, and there is that sense of pride, definitely, and they feel like that's my way of supporting my kids throughout their education, if you know what I mean.
And getting involved
and
showing them that you care.
Yeah,
because we mentioned earlier about showing that your other half or your children that you care, you're interested in what they're doing.
Definitely.
So just showing them that as well.
Yeah, and I think with regards to the other extracurricular stuff, if you don't have time for it, or you're not bothered, trying to limit that. So just focus on what your kids are really, really passionate about. Because I know some mums, honestly, Raghad, they've signed up to hundreds and hundreds of things, and it's just. Your kids are not robots.
And is it even good for the child to have that many clubs?
Yeah, and it just makes me think: is really the kid wants to do this many things, or is that you pushing them because you want them to be the best in everything? I don't know. But I think if you're, one of these working moms where you actually don't have time for these sort of things, limit things and focus on what your kids are passionate about. So for me personally, my son is, a great goalkeeper. He wants to pursue, football passion. And me and his dad try to, support that and enforce that. And he's a great footballer, or goalkeeper rather. He's a goalkeeper of his local team. And with my daughter, I've tried to push her into something, but she doesn't want to know. And that's fine. You don't want to know, then I'm not going to waste my time, to be honest. But
I'm not just wasting your time, but it's about, if she's not interested,
then it's fine. I don't need to push her. Yeah,
it's not going to get anywhere. You think then there's not much point of wasting your energy. Maybe you can put that energy into something else. Maybe she's into having conversations with you.
Exactly.
Maybe she's into
other things.
Yeah, and then you can put that energy into that. Yeah. You don't always have to follow what everyone else is doing. You don't have to always be what everyone else is expecting you to be, and don't feel guilty for doing what works for you and your family.
Exactly.
That's ultimately what the best thing to do is to do what works for you and your family. Personally, what you were saying about going to different club every night, I found that obviously that doesn't work. I just wanted, what I done for my children is I put them into a club and I see if they like that. If they do, then we continue with that. And if they don't, then we'll try and move on and find something else that they would like to do until we find something that they are fully interested in. And that's what would make them happy, and that's what would work for them. Because at the beginning I was trying to push my children into gymnastics and things like that, and it was just such a hassle trying to get them out of the house to go to the club. And then by the end of it, I'm like, I'm exhausted. I'm tired taking to the club. They're unhappy being there. what's the point of this? You know, you have to ask yourself, what am I doing this for?
Yeah.
Is it for them to get somewhere in life? Is it for them to learn? Is it for them to have fun? Is it something for us to do together? Always ask yourself the question of, why am I doing this? So when I did ask myself that question, I said, actually, you know what? It seems like they're not into this. Let's find something else that they will like.
Yeah.
And then for a while as well, I realised that maybe they didn't, like I said, they didn't like any of the things that we were doing. We took a break and then, you know, started again, because, you know, ultimately what's important is their happiness and their mental well-being.
But you just touched on something really nice there, actually. Maybe find something that you can do together, find a club you can do together. So I know some mums, for example, they've signed up with their kids to like a martial arts class, and they do that together on a Friday evening or something like that.
That's the best thing anyway.
That's also really nice. But I think also I found that a lot of mums, for example, part of their struggle is because they're taking their kids to clubs outside of the school. So they'll sign them up for external sporting activities and stuff like that. And that's where you'll struggle. So I always tell mums, for example, first find out what the school has to offer, because they're already in the school and that will give you an extra hour at work, you know.
Yeah.
So find out what the school can offer.
Yeah, the traffic, you know.
Exactly.
And if the school
don't offer it, ask them, let them know you're interested in this, find out from other parents if they'll be interested in this, and schools are very happy to bring things in if they know there's interest in it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So definitely start off with where your kids already are after school, and then work your way out.
Definitely don't exhaust yourself. Definitely do what the best thing for them and what is easiest for yourself. Because it doesn't make you lazy, by the way.
No.
Doing something that works for you, doing something that makes your life easier, doesn't make you lazy. It just makes you clever. It makes you savvy. Honestly, I don't know why people always relate doing what makes you happy to laziness sometimes, but actually no. Because that actually works out better.
Yeah.
You know, you're like I said, you're going to have an hour or two at work.
Yeah.
You're going to miss the school runs. Even finding parking, because when I put my children in the clubs, it's so much easier to find parking. And, you know, they can get to be with their friends for a bit longer as well. So, you know, all my kids as well, I usually put them in all the school clubs, really.
Yeah.
I always talk about the clubs, I was talking about the clubs that are outside school.
Yeah.
Because that's the main struggle, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's just the drop-offs and pick-ups and things like that. So, being a working mum, how have you found the time to be a governor? I mean, I think it's really amazing.
Yeah, to be honest with you, it's something that I did ask about before I signed myself up for it, because I wanted to see how much time it would take up. The good thing is, it's, you know, I would encourage a lot of people actually to go out there and if there's a vacancy within their school, to apply for it, because it doesn't take up that much time. It's very flexible. You know, we usually have meetings, or I'm talking on behalf of my school here, we usually have meetings once in the evening every month. And you know, where I work as well, my employer is very aware that I would have these. I'm very transparent about that. But actually, I found out that when I started speaking about that within where I worked, I found out that a lot of people that I work with actually said, "Oh, they're a governor too. They're a governor too." So actually, it was really nice to see that we all had this common interest, and also, it's not something hard to fit around your life. So we have these meetings once a month. And there'll be obviously other things, you know, if there's other things that you need to commit to as part of your role, then they'll happen as well. Yeah, so are you involved in any kind of PTA things at school or anything like that, Raghad?
I'm not exactly involved in terms of PTA or governor. I do get involved in my children's school days, and like if they have any trips or anything going on, yes, definitely I do get involved, but I would not personally be able to get involved into something that holds a lot of responsibility on me right now, because I feel like me personally, that would affect my mental well-being to a certain extent, because it's an extra, it's an added responsibility, it's an added maybe stress sometimes as well. Maybe you have some parents that have some, you know, you need to write emails on their behalf, you need to be their voice, as you said. You need to always make sure that you say the right things as well. So for me, that would be an added stress. And I've learned in life that if there's something that I cannot do and it can affect my precious time with my family, precious time with my children, precious me time, then I do say no. And I think the art of saying no is really important, and really it's actually harder than you think.
Yeah, we've discussed that on a previous show. It's really important to say yes to less.
Say yes to less, yeah. So I think that's one thing that I have not said yes to. Did being a governor at work kind of go hand in hand with being a working mum, because it just gave you that responsibility, gave you that confidence in yourself, or were you always a governor?
No, to be honest, the way it happened is they both came at the same time. I got my job, and then I got this vacancy came up on the governing board. And it actually worked out really nicely, because when you're submitting a statement to the school to get people to vote for you, it was really great that I was able to say on there, I work at this company, this is what I do for a living.
So people always trust, I don't say trust a professional, but it just kind of, they want it to be their voice because of what
and
you do.
they look for certain skills as well when you're trying to be on the board of governors. So it was really great that I was able to incorporate that, and I hadn't started work actually yet, but I was saying this is where I'll be working. So yeah, I think that really helped, but it came hand in hand.
It's kind of you were kind of ready for the world.
Yes,
you can say that.
100%.
You were being a mom, full-time mom, which is absolutely amazing for the time. Your kids were, mashallah, grow up, and you were kind of ready for the world, and just, you wanted to be a governor and went back to work. And
I was definitely ready to get out there and start doing more with my life, definitely.
Yeah, it's like having a new chapter to your life, because, life is chapters, isn't it? Like you had the chapter of being a stay-at-home mom, beautiful. Now you want to be a working mom, which is also just
and I just got lucky as well, Raghad. Like, doors opened, opportunities opened at the right time, and then I grabbed those opportunities. And I think that's important.
And it's what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
And you were fully ready for that. And I think that's the most important thing, is that, if you want to become a governor, if you want to be a PTA, if you want to be an extracurricular mom, only do it because you can, because you want to. Yeah. Don't feel pressurized. No. I think no one should pressurize you to do anything. No. And don't feel guilty.
And if you don't have the time, definitely don't do it.
And don't feel guilty just because you're another mom is able to go to all the football lessons and everything like that, and you can't, or your child is not into that. That's fine. No comparison, no pressure. And I think that it's time to go to Isra, who's going to be talking about flexibility in the workplace.
So flexibility is something that we have been addressing a lot more recently, in recent times than before, and people are leaning more towards creating flexible hours within their work. And that's something that I try to address with a lot of my clients. Even when I work with clients and we address goal setting or routine or habit building, I always say to them, imagine sort of a cloud of flexibility around everything that you do. And what that means is that while you might write a list of things to do for that day or plan your day, it's allowing for things to crop up, because that's what life does. Life throws all sorts at you, and what you want to do is almost embrace those, that you become flexible and almost like a sponge where you can tackle anything that life throws. So for example, I might have a list of things that I wanted to do that day, but then if I'm called in because one of my children is sick, or if I need to go to hospital, or I've been called out somewhere else, I allow for that. And what you want to do is then put that into your schedule. And that gives you that sense that you don't feel like it removes that sense of guilt that you've not achieved enough or done enough. So that's where flexibility is important in all aspects of your life. And within working environment, I think first of all, it's important to realize that we are different. Every single one of us is different, and families are different as well. And for some people, maybe working a 9-to-5 job, if there is such a thing, or long hours, being in corporate environment, it works for them, it works for their families, and it suits them. But what I want is, and that's okay by the way, what I want is for you to actually be honest with yourself and say, however I'm working or not working, is that serving me? Is that doing me justice? Am I happy in that? Or am I doing it because I feel like I should be doing it, or society expects me to do it, or my parents expect me to do it, or my husband expects me to do it? So really be honest with yourself, take that in, and begin to make choices in your life, and really rid yourself of any fear that's holding you back from making changes. And remembering that stepping outside your comfort zone is going to be hard, but as soon as you do it, it gives you that sense of choice and flexibility and empowerment, which is so key for, I think, every individual. And that's what I want a lot of women to really take on and start to embrace in their own life. And I think the pandemic and what we've been through over the last 1.5 to 2 years has taught us that we can do things differently, that we can adapt, that we can change, that we can learn new skills, that we can become more flexible and creative in how we work. So creating that flexibility is so vital, even especially I think for when I hear a lot of women talking, saying that I want to be able to drop my kids over, I want to be able to attend assemblies or sports day. And for you to be able to do that, it's about really creating flexibility in your working environment. And that doesn't necessarily mean stepping outside of your work that you're doing right now, but maybe communicating with your boss or your employer that this is what you want to create. And actually, so much research has shown that when people have those flexible working hours, when they are fulfilled, when they are able to create an empowering environment for themselves between home and work, they are much more productive as well. So I think it's about really learning from the experience that we've been through and trying to become more adaptive and flexible in how we're working. And I think in today's modern society, we are actually seeing so many more people choosing to become self-employed and choosing to create their own businesses. And I think that's really beautiful to see that when you do have a particular skill, it's about saying that I can create it for myself, I can create the working hours for myself. And sometimes, I get asked, how do you balance between work and home? And I don't like the word balance because sometimes it gives us the impression that it has to be 50-50. But let's face it, there's no such thing in life. So when my children were young, I wanted to be more present in life. I wanted to be the one to drop them off. I wanted to be present for their upbringing. I didn't want someone else to be bringing them up or looking after them. So that meant putting certain things on hold. And that worked for me and my family really well. And then when they became older, when they went into full-time education, that's when I started to put more time into my own work and developing myself in that way. So I think it's rather than saying having that balance that it has to be 50-50, it's realizing that at different stages of our life, we have different priorities and different values that we might have will be prioritized in a different way. So if I'm starting a new business, it's about really communicating that this requires certain time from me. And it's about really communicating that to the family. And just remembering at the end of the day, what flexibility gives. It gives choice, it gives empowerment. And it's not about doing things perfectly, but it's not about perfection, it's really about connection.
Yeah, so I think flexibility at work really helps, because I think if I didn't have that flexibility at my current job, then definitely it would make it a lot harder for me to do all the other stuff like being the governor and extracurricular activities and stuff like that. So it's important to have that flexibility at work, definitely.
Yeah, and I think at least one of the partners needs to have that flexibility, because, for example, with my line of work, I don't have that flexibility. I'm 9 till 3. Like, I need to be there 100%.
Yeah.
Like if it's someone has an appointment, or a child has to leave somewhere earlier, I would not be able to drive. I'll have to tell someone in advance that I'm not going to be there. So it does help that my partner is more flexible in his line of work, and that's really important as well. I feel like when you have lots of responsibilities, that one of you at least is flexible. Otherwise, it can be really challenging, I think, and draining. Always to book time off and things like that.
So, what about other responsibilities?
I think one of the biggest responsibility, other than being an extracurricular mum, is ensuring that you have the Salat Raham. I think for the children's well-being, for the children's iman, for the children to belong somewhere, that sense of belonging, it's really important. I think it's so important. Like we say family time, but family time doesn't just mean about the immediate family. It means about the extended family, because they learn so much. They learn so much from their grandparents. They learn so much from their aunties and even other cousins. So I think that's a big priority that everyone needs to make sure they put some time for. And just being there for your, siblings, if you have siblings, and for your family. For your
so kind of living up to your duties as a daughter, as a sister, as
a granddaughter,
a member of an extended family.
A granddaughter.
Yeah, exactly.
And even that itself can be quite exhausting if you have a big family.
Yeah.
A lot of people say it's nice to have a really big family, and it is beautiful, but also it can be exhausting because there's a lot of people have a lot of expectations of you. People always want you to be there, which is really beautiful, but sometimes you can't always be there.
Exactly. Yeah.
And what's your experiences about Salat Raham and trying to make the most of family time, extended family time?
Yeah, I think for me that's really important as well, because my kids you know, we're a small family, we're a family of 4. So definitely it's nice for me to make sure that my kids have, you know, are able to turn to their aunties and uncles and are able to go to their cousins, because I'm not going to be there all the time. I'm not going to, you know, I want them to have those relationships and understand that how important family is. So yeah, that's definitely something that I've tried to incorporate for them as well.
Yeah, I think for me, like extended family is more of a priority to me than my children going to like extra lessons or tuition, which they do as well. But for me, it's more important that they have that social skill, that they have that sense of belonging, because the most important thing for a child is that having that sense of belonging. If they can't find that within their family or within their, you know, community, then they will end up finding it somewhere else, and maybe somewhere else that you're not happy with.
Exactly.
So if you can push the child
To be
with the
close.
right crowd, then you've kind of done half of your job of, you know, kind of stopping him from being in the wrong crowd.
Yeah.
Because I think the priority for every child is belonging, being accepted, and being loved.
Yeah, that's really beautiful, Raghad. But I think for me personally, I think sometimes my work gets in the way of me trying to create that extended family time for my kids. You know, other people could be in the same position as me, where it's not just their full-time job they have another job on the side that they've dedicated their time to. You know, they have other, you know, social responsibilities, other kind of maybe cultural responsibilities, community responsibilities that are in their lives.
Definitely.
So I think, yeah, definitely for someone like me, you know, if you ask my family, they'll say, well, you've taken on too much in your life. But maybe I have. You know, that's something my husband might even say. Yeah, he might say. And there's always things in my head that I want to do more. I always want to do more. But someone once said to me, do as much as you can while you can, while you've got your good health, while you're able to. Because one day, it's true, all of these things could be taken away from me, my good health, my, you know, my energy, all of this stuff. And I'll always maybe then live in regret and think, why did I not do everything there and then?
That's spot on as well, what you just said, because you know what, maybe you are doing too much, but at least you can experience the too much, and then when you are doing less, you'll appreciate that.
Yeah.
And it's better to do something than to live with the regret of not doing it.
Yeah.
So even that in itself is an experience,
Yeah.
you know, doing too much.
Yeah, definitely.
I think there's a lot to learn from that
Yeah.
as well. But do you feel you're doing too much, personally?
I mean, some days, yeah, it can feel like that. But then, so if I do start feeling like that, and it starts, this is what I've said previously, is my priority is always my family. So if I feel like what I'm doing is starting to affect my family time, I will definitely know to cut things out. But it's just things come in waves sometimes, isn't it? You go through really overwhelming busy days, and then you go through some days where actually everything is is the way it should be.
And like, are you an extracurricular mum, would you say?
To some extent, yeah. I like to think that I am. I do try to get involved a lot with what my kids do, in terms of extracurricular, in terms of school activities, even, to be honest, like community social events. I try hard to be a part of something like that, and because I want my kids to grow up in a community the same way the same way I grew up. I think it's nice for them, as well as having that extended family, like you said, for them to feel like they belong in a community as well. So definitely I try to help. If I'm ever asked to help with community events and stuff like that, I do try to give my time.
But then you've got your business as well, your side business.
Yeah.
So how do you find time for that?
That's the thing. If you know, sometimes something always has to give, but that's something I need to learn, which I've said in a previous show, is I need to learn to say no more.
No. Well, I mean, okay, maybe you don't want to say no. You love what you're doing. You love your business. Yeah. Would it be ideal to, if, for example, for mums who want to kind of, you know, do more, would it be ideal to kind of ask for more help, do you think?
There's no shame in that.
Like, there's no shame in that.
No, not at all.
So you want to carry on with your business. You know, have you ever considered bringing someone in and just, you know, helping out, you know, with the extra, you know, the orders on the side that you've mentioned?
I think, yes, definitely.
Things like that. Would that help?
Yeah, I've definitely considered things in the long run. So, for example, if you know, business orders, you know, take off, then definitely I would bring someone to help. Or something like, you know, things that I can't do. So my husband's been pestering me to get a cleaner, for example, and I like to do the cleaning myself in my own home, but that might have to give one day because I might not have the time. You know, life might get that busy, and that's fine to bring someone in once a week to help out with that. There's no shame, you know.
Yeah, because I'm a big believer of, you know, if something is getting too much, rather than giving up
Yeah.
or saying that I can't do this anymore, is to ask. Ask for help.
Yeah.
And there's no shame in that. There's no
No.
shame in having a cleaner. There's no shame in having someone to help with your business. There's no shame in asking even a friend, as we mentioned before, that I need help right now. I'm just not going. I don't know. I'm just not coping very well. And even with the extracurricular activities, it's so nice if you know, find some neighbors or people around you who have this children that are doing the same clubs as you
can help each
to
other
kind of
out.
help each other out with the, you know, drop-offs and pickups and things like that. I think the key to juggling everything is asking for help and cooperating as a community. That's what I was mentioning earlier about communities and family. That's really, really important, because then, you know, your child grows up being part of that, and you can even have that breather as well. So you've got someone, you take care of someone else's kids, and then vice versa, someone can take care of your kids for a,
and to be honest, I've seen that firsthand. I have friends of mine who live kind of further out than a lot of us that live closer together. And yeah, you know, they'll struggle sometimes when there's things that they really need help with, because they're working as well and stuff like that, but they don't have anybody within, you know, around them that can help. There's no family, there's no friends, so they do struggle quite a bit, and that's why, as much as I'd love to kind of maybe move further out,
I say I would never be able to leave.
It's hard because actually you're right, we do indirectly rely on each other, and that's nice, and it's nice for the kids to know that there's people around them. But definitely as a working mum, I think you do need that.
But even people who do live further out, I mean, there's nothing wrong with making connections with the people that are around you, even if they don't come from the same background as you. But if they have children that are similar age groups as you, or similar hobbies, or even, you know, as families, I think it's really important to try and connect with them. And even there's online groups, you know, of working mums, or in different regions, different areas. Try and connect with them, just to make life easier for you. I think just the key to life is just to find hacks to make your life easier.
And to be honest, this is why it's nice to be a part of kind of, you know, like someone like me being on the board, or being an extracurricular mum, or being on the PTA, because you start networking and you start making connections, and then you start finding out that, oh, this person's son goes to the same school as your son, and you know, that's how kind of you can start building a network of people who can be there for you, there for your kids, because we're all going through the same struggles, we're all working, we all need a bit of help. And even, you know, even those, I know a lot of mums that I meet in school that are not working mums, but they still
need help.
They still need help, and that's, you know, and it's great for them to be able to reach out to someone like me.
There's no judgment, and there's no judgment. There's no comparison.
No.
You know, like I said earlier, you might have the same things to juggle, but your plate is bigger than mine. So what I can, maybe some mums can't work because they cannot deal with both, and some mum can deal with both with flying colours, and, you know, run a business and do extracurricular and everything, and they seem fine. So the most important thing is not to compare, I think, and judge.
No, 100% agree, because I think when you start comparing yourself to other people, that she's doing it all and I want to do it all like her, then no, I think
can burn you out.
It can burn you out, because she's probably found ways of making that work, and you haven't established those ways, and sometimes it can take years to get to that place that she's got to.
I think that just kind of ties it in with just believing in yourself and forgiving yourself and loving yourself. The lack of comparison. You just know what you've done your best, you've got your habit tracker, you've ticked off what needs to be done, you know your children are happy, and you've tried your best to connect with your partner. I think that should be more than enough to make you love yourself and give grace to yourself and thank Allah. And also, if you need that extra support, always go to Allah before asking anyone, because we were talking about asking others for support, but I think the first person or the first thing you should do when you need that extra support is to speak to Allah.
100% agree. I think for me as well, I like that saying where what is it, we plan and Allah plans, and Allah's the best of planners. So whatever has happened in your life, whatever roles and responsibilities you've got, even, you know, your job or being at home as a mum, Allah has planned this for you, and that is because it's the best thing for you at that moment in time.
And the other one I like is if you have a dream, it's because Allah has planted it there for you. You know, so that just gives you that extra trust that if you have a dream and Allah has planted it there for you, means you're going to get there. I think that's really important to remember as well.
That's great. Thank you, Raghad, and thank you for watching. See you next time at Mums at Work. Ma'a salama.
Ma'a salama.